Hello! Right, so now the rain is coming and there's a lot of noise, so this is going to be another awesome video. I really have to rethink this whole venue for talking thing, which I will. I'll just figure out where I can squeeze in making these videos now that winter is coming and the darkness is closing in on Sweden. So I thought that for this episode I will talk about the different roles that you will find in a software development company or a software development team or whatever. For the most part, it may vary. You may not have all of these people or you may have some of them, but I thought I'd just walk down the list of the people and the jobs that I have had the good fortune of working with. So let's start at the bottom. The first and most fundamental part of any software development team or software development company is the programmer or the software developer. And basically, as the software developer, it's not that tricky really. Your entire job is to basically provide, write the code that makes the application or the service or whatever that you are supporting do what it's supposed to be doing, writing tests and all of that good stuff, and taking care of bugs, all of that stuff. That's what we do. And for the most part you will see that there are three in general, very general now, three types of developers. You have the back-end developers. They focus mostly on server-side development, like making sure that the system is the system is running as it's supposed to be doing and doing all that good stuff. You have the front-end developers who are mostly concerned with implementing interfaces, working in JavaScript and mobile applications and all that good stuff. And then you have the unicorns, the one that we all want to be, which is the full-stack developer. And the full-stack developer does everything. They do absolutely everything, or as my colleague Mark likes to call it, they have the ability to fuck up code at all levels of the application, which in some cases is true. Anyway, so that's the software developer. And next to the software developer, mostly in larger companies, you have the designers and the UX people. Now, UX and design people, they are, as you may or may not know, mostly concerned with basically the vision of the application. They are before you even start building stuff, it is critical that you have a good design that is ideally it has been tested by users. It's basically for the most part you want a sketch or some type of graphical representation of what you're gonna build before you start, because trust me, it is so often that I see people do this wrong. And you may think that this is not critical, but it is so critical, because when you start developing stuff, so as soon as the code starts getting written, it costs magnitudes more to fix things. It takes longer to build, it takes more energy and money to change. So think about it. It's like trying to build if you want to build a building, do you start building like a test building? No, you get some blueprints first. And that's where the designers come in. The designers are the providers of the vision and the blueprints. In my opinion, they're almost as important as, they're basically architects, or the people who have the know where we're going with the entire thing. They're very, very important, especially today when we're so focused on user experience. So I highly respect my designers, and some people give them a lot of hate, or they make the mistake of thinking just because it's easy to understand the design, it's like photography. Some people, when you look at the picture and the photographer says, well, this is going to cost you 300,000 crowns, and everybody goes like, oh, how can it cost that much? Well, I needed to fly down to Tahiti and stand right next to the water and then fly back to get the picture. and they don't, it's like people don't even understand that there's a big fucking it's the same thing with music. It's easy to appreciate music, but it's really difficult to write good music. So designers, love them. Okay, so then we have our QA team, or the testers. Now these people are in charge of testing the application and assuring the quality of the software that is being written. So they don't actually they don't write code themselves. They test and make sure that whenever you release new updates to the system, that it's still working, and they're making sure that you are covering all your cases. Now, some of you may think, well, can't the developers just do that? And you would be right. If you don't have the budget for this, then absolutely the developers could do this, because in essence they actually do. Like, the developer I know, just releases something without ever making sure that it works. But it is invaluable to have people who have absolutely nothing to do with the implementation of the solution trying things out, having a fresh pair of eyes testing things out, because inevitably you as the developer, you will start going into patterns, because if you do the same thing, almost the same thing over and over and over again, you'll start doing that in a certain way. And what happens is that you'll never actually try and play around with other stuff and make sure that you're testing all the different cases. You'll just repeat the same process over and over again. I mean, at my job, I have had to go through the checkout flow on Ticketmaster hundreds of times, and for most of you that sounds like torture, for if you've ever bought a ticket that didn't really work on the first go. And it is absolutely torture. So I don't even think about what I'm doing. It's such a it's such a trivial task. So the quality of my testing goes down. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with unit testing. Like, if the idea with writing a unit test before you write the implementation is that as soon as your brain has more information and knows what the expected results are, you will be affected. Your ability to effectively test the code will be less, because you will cut corners and all that good stuff. So QA team, really useful people, and there is a lot of demand for them. Like, it's almost on par. I mean, getting good testers. Like here in Gothenburg, there's a lot of jobs for testers. Okay, now then we talk about the operations team. Now, we are moving as a community towards something called DevOps. And DevOps is the notion that the developers are going to run the application. They build it, they own it. And for some companies I've talked to, that sounds like a really cool idea. Basically, the ops person is the person who is monitoring everything in production, making sure that all of the servers are running, doing health checks, making sure that there's no unforeseen peaks in CPU usage, all of that good stuff. They spend most of their days looking at dashboards and using SSH to go through different clusters, and using Kubernetes and Docker and all of that fancy stuff if it's a fairly modern company. And be very careful though, guys, when you talk to people who talk about DevOps, because some companies have had, Ticketmaster being one of them, has got it in their heads that DevOps just means that, well, we don't change anything about the system. We still run it like it was 1998, and then we'll just save money by making the developers do it instead of having ops people. And that's not how it works. In their world, that's how it works, but then they come and ask, oh, why is development speed going down? Well, because the people who are doing the actual development are now running things instead. Go figure, right? What do you think we're supposed to do? Hit the buttons faster than the ops people? Anyway, so ops guys, you really, and this is actually, they are surprisingly tricky. Good people who are really good at this stuff, they are really tricky to find. I would even say that it might actually be more difficult than finding developers, because there's so much more that you need to know about. It's really tricky. So ops people are really cool. It's something that I think you would enjoy quite a lot if you're more about understanding like Linux and like managing an application that has been built. That's what they mostly do. All right, and then we have our product owners. So a product owner is basically the person who is in charge of managing the direction, or creating a roadmap and managing the direction that an application takes. So you are necessarily not a technical person, but you are the person who is the go-between between the stakeholders, or your customers, or the people who are asking for features, and the other departments. So design and like development and all that stuff. You are in essence charged with getting new features in and developing the application and putting up, like basically giving everybody else an idea of what they should be doing. And this is a pretty cool thing. Like ideally you want somebody who is fairly technical or skilled in different areas to do this, because it requires you to speak everybody's language so that you can understand what's best for the product. Now, this role is actually, in my opinion, the most critical role in any development team. And the reason why that is because you are in essence everybody's boss. You don't have to work like but you can still have a democracy to, like how you manage things, that's up to you. But you are basically going to have to pick what type of product you want to build, because the thing is that the well-being of the product, that's your responsibility, and it's your responsibility to manage like all the stakeholders' expectations. I mean, if you are one of those people who like you because you're going to be put in a situation where you're going to have to sit in front of a lot of customers, and if you are weak, you might be inclined to make promises that you can't deliver, because you're all on your own. Like the UX people and the developers, they have each other. Like we work as a single unit, but you're pretty much on your own. And that means that you have to be you have to have a strong backbone, because sometimes your customers are going to ask you for stuff that's going to hurt the product, and then you're going to have to ask yourself, is it what do I want to do? Because like the developers may not be happy with it, the UX people may not be happy with it. Like you're basically a diplomat. That's your entire job. And some people will say that, oh well, a monkey can do that. Well, yeah, that is true, but somebody has to do it. And trust me, it's not fun to go into a meeting with bad news to the people who are paying your salary, and that's your job. Because remember, if you don't deliver as a product manager, you are going to be the person for the most part that is held responsible to whoever is paying everybody on the team. So, and finally you have the project manager, if you will, the person who basically is responsible for making sure that all of the departments have, or rather that the project itself is moving in a certain direction. Now, I will argue that the project manager is like the lines between the product manager and the project manager it's fairly, in my opinion, it's fairly blurred. And for the most part, they are very, the product manager is directly responsible for the product, but the project manager is the person who does things that are a little bit more high level. So I don't know. I don't think. No, I'm going to skip that one. I don't think there's much value in going into deeply into that, because it boils down to semantics, and different companies use them in different ways. But basically, these are the main roles that you'll find in a software development company, for the most part, or rather the department that is directly responsible for delivering the product. And as you may notice, I hope you did, there's a fairly, like, a good mix of people going on there. It's not just super technical IT people, so you have to be able to collaborate. That's why most of the software industry is really keen on having good social skills, or what we call soft skills, because you need to be able to work with both technical people and non-technical people. So the non-technical people, you need to be able to like bridge the gap between you and the engineers, and the engineers, well, you need to be able to be a teacher in a sense, or somebody who is really good at explaining yourself and making sure, breaking down technical concepts into less technical things. So if you want to go into IT and you're not a geek or whatever you want to call us, then the odds are that you can still find a place there. Like, there's a really large amount of jobs available for testers and product managers and all that other cool stuff. So if you like IT but you're not a programmer, you can still be part of that world if you want to.